All right, so we're now live and we can start with our class for today.
All right, good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Chanel. I'm the owner of CS Hair Studio and educator for GK Hair. I'd like to thank you all for joining today's live demonstration. Let's see. And today we are going to be talking about foilayage, and I'll be demonstrating the foilayage technique today. So today's class objectives are understanding the benefits of our lightening powder mask. That's the lightener that I'll be using for today's class. I'll be explaining the benefit of Juvexin, and I will make sure that you all have an understanding of GK Hair Professional and retail products by the end of this class. So today I'm using our lightening powder mask. This one right here. This is the secret to healthy luminous locks. This product is formulated with hyaluronic acid, which helps to condition as well as moisturize the hair while lightening, which leaves it feeling nice and soft and smooth after application. This also has meteorite powder, which gives it a gray hue. This is rich in minerals. It can help to nourish and strengthen the hair during the lightening process. And then we also have seed oils in this product, which is rich in antioxidants and can help to protect the hair from environmental damage, while also helping to moisturize and condition the hair. This product also has kaolin, which can help to improve the texture of the hair. So I will start mixing my formulation. I am going to do a partial today. I don't need too much. I'm going to mix 40 grams of my powder. With about 80 grams of my 20 volumes. And I'm mixing this in a 1-to-2 ratio. I'd also like to add some of my Shield. Grab that. Yep, I'm going to add some Shield Additive Plus. And I'm only going to add about 10% to my formula. So I'm going to be adding 12 grams of my Shield Additive Plus to my mixture after I mix it together. So the Shield Additive Plus is intermixable with all of our professional formulations. This helps to create new bonds in the hair and in the cortex to protect the hair's existing structure. So this is what my lightening powder mask looks like. Has that gray hue to it. Once I have everything mixed, I'm going to go ahead and add that 10% of the Shield Additive Plus. So just a little bit. And the way this works is I will apply this to her hair, during the foliage, and then the second step to your Shield Additive would be to apply the Lock Me Color mask. That's after we shampoo the formulation out of her hair, and that will help to fuse the newly formed bonds and lock in color and moisture. So that is all mixed up. And I decided today that we're going to do a bit of like a twilight foliage for my client today. So with that, the twilight blending, it just combines like an ultra soft diffuse dimension with strategic brightness. I want to give her some pops of blonde at the top. We're just going to do a partial just to brighten her up for the summer. This is going to include a mix of dimensional lowlights and highlights to create a natural contrast. I do want to see more brightness around the face, so I'll go over how I will achieve that. And I want this to have an ultra blended and natural finish. We're going to have some tone-on-tone contrast, and this foliage method is best for added control and saturated. So when I say saturation, so when I say foliage, I am going to be using a balayage technique, but the hair will be in foils. So to add dimension, I'm going to have my lightener formula, which is my formula A, and then I also want to go in with some low lights. And that will give me that dimensional look. And then a foliage method, like when you're toning at the bowl, you can still add your smudge root, you can still gloss. It's great. It's very versatile, and you can create nice custom looks for your clients with this. So I'm doing this because I want to have a nice soft grow out. I want brightness, but I don't want to heavily highlight her hair. Her hair is always in great shape. She still has some brightness. I can move the camera a little bit closer just so that you can see what we're starting with. I would also go this way for you, so you can see what we're starting with here. We usually do a partial. You can see that she has some dimension underneath, some low lights, and we just like to keep that nice and blended. Don't want her to be overly highlighted. So for my low light, I'm just going to mix. Oh, it's like a level 6. I don't want it to be much darker. She's about a level 7 right now. And then when we do her highlights, I want to keep this all in the same level range. So when we do her highlights, we're still going to tone those highlights with a level 7 as well. We are just creating some different tones. All right, so, and you can do this for blondes and brunettes alike, anyone who's looking for dimension. So let's start with sectioning her hair. All right, so I am going to use a diamond sectioning today. So she likes to part her hair in the middle, so I want that diamond to be like right in the center of her head.
Chanel, so I wanted to ask if you could, move the portrait further below, the camera.
Lower it some.
Yeah, a little more lower.
Let's see.
Chanel, so the placement was okay, just that, we were not able to see. So if you could, just, turn it further below.
I wouldn't be able to, or the iPad will fall off of the stand. So this is, I can do this angle, or I can do the other angle.
I think the other angle was better. Yeah.
The other one, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
Okay, all right, perfect. All right, let me just a little bit. I'm gonna have to look up for me. I just want to make sure that my diamond is right in the center. I'm just gonna spin her around so that you can see that she has darker tones in the back. We don't usually add a ton of highlights back here. Every once in a while, we will really focus on partials for her. So this is her lighter area, and this is what we are going to focus on today. All right, so I have my diamond section here. What I'm going to do, she likes to wear a middle part, so I am going to subsection my diamond. So I want to cut it in half. This section in the crown, this will stay as is. Section this off. Look up a bit. There we go. And then with my diamond shaping the top half, we have just a large triangle now. I am going to split that in half because she likes to wear a middle part. So now I've taken my diamond section and I've split it into 3 subsections. And you can choose how wide you want your diamond to be. It depends on your client. It depends on what they're looking for, how much more dimension they want to see in their hair. I have my 3 sections. On the top, we have our diamond section, split it in half. We have a large triangle here, and then we have 2 smaller triangles at the top. The rest of the hair, I'm not going to touch today, but I will say if you have a client that likes to wear their hair up, then you can go ahead and add some perimeter highlights here, as well as perimeter highlights right here in the front. But we may not do that today. Let's see. I'm just going to twist this out of the way. All right. One side is out of the way. This side of the way. All right. So these outer sections, the exterior of her hair, we will not be touching today. We'll just be working on the interior for her partial foil. All right. We'll bring some more. Okay. So after the application, I'm going to cover how our lightening powder mask compares to other lighteners and what makes this product so unique. So we'll go over how to choose the right lightener, the right GK hair lightener when you are providing a highlight or foilayage service for your client right after the application demonstration. So this again will be a partial foilayage. And I'm starting with the diamond sectioning. I split everything up. And I'm going to make sure that from the apex to the forehead, I have my middle part, and then anything below that and that crown area will be the back. Our back section, I want to use zigzag horizontal subsections. And then for my top 2 pieces, I want them both to have diagonal back zigzag subsectionings. All right, so let me get some gloves and we can start this process. Are there any questions so far about our foilayage technique?
No, Chanel, we don't have any questions as of yet.
Okay, thank you. Let me just go grab my Formula P. Okay, so just to let you know, our Formula A is our lightening powder mask. Our Formula B is our low light, which is just going to be a level 6. And I'm mixing that with 10 volume. Mix that together. And you have the option of adding the Shield Additive Plus to your low light formula. But I focus on that more so when I'm lightening the hair, not so much when I'm depositing. So I have my Formula A, my Formula B. Grab some oils. Oils. All right, so this is perfect. It's here. Okay, make sure you can see my client. Okay. So again, we are not touching these sections in the back. We are working on a partial foliage technique. Okay, here's my first section. So I always want my Formula A to sit on top of my Formula B because I want the lighter pieces to sit on top of the darker contrast to add a pop of color and added dimension. Let's start at the bottom. And I said that I was going to use a zigzag horizontal sectioning, subsectioning. And I'm going to weave that out. It's up to you whether or not you want to weave or tease. It's up to you, or if you just want to go straight slice it. It's up to you. It depends on your desired look. This is just what I would like to do for my client today. Starting off with my little light. This is my level 6. I don't want her hair to be much darker, but we have not refreshed her ends in a while, so I just want to add some bold low lights. So I will be leaving a small sliver between each foil. So I'm going in with my zigzag, and I will leave this out. Okay, so we can still blend this in with everything that she has going on in the back. Going again with my horizontal zigzag parting. Okay, and this time it's time for me to add my lightener, my Formula A. All right, and with this, I like to tease. I just like to have a seamless blend. Honestly, for this client, we do not do any type of shadow root. When we're toning, we're going to do more of a base break for my client. So I'm going to go ahead, start from the mid lens and tease this up some. Yeah. Here's some sectioning here. And with my Formula A, my lighting powder mask, I like to saturate it in the middle first. And then I like to feather it up. I don't like to contribute to any line of demarcation as this grows out. So I just like to feather this lightly. And you can decide how close to the root you want this to be. You can choose if you want to use more of a V-shaping where you're just working on the outer corners to add some additional depth. I am not going to do that today. Taking it up pretty high, right up until I get to that teased area. Fully saturated. Close this up. All right, so as you can see, still going on with my alternation. We did Formula B, Formula A, so now we're moving back up to Formula B. Taking another zigzag subsection. I'll say that my subsection is about 1/4 inch. Again, it depends on your client's density. It depends on where your starting point is. You may need to create smaller subsections, but this is good enough for me. And then with that subsection, I'm just going to leave out the part that I would like to use. I'm leaving this out for additional blend. All right, so going back to my Lillet, my Formula B. I'm taking this as close to the root as possible. I just like to make sure that everything is fully saturated, especially when your client has long hair. Fold those ends over. I just like to make sure that everything receives the product. That. Great. There we go. That's Formula B. Moving in with another horizontal zigzag subsection. There we go. And we're moving back into the lightener at this point, so I'm going to zigzag the portion that I plan on using. Again, we're leaving some of what she already had out. Here we go. Going in with our lightening powder mask formulation. don't like to heavily saturate it at the root. I just want to create a nice soft grow out, so I just feather that upward, and you can do that however you like. This is how I do it. All right, and then we have one more piece left in our back section. And this will be our low light. So I'm okay with the low light being the last in this section. It'll create a nice veil. So again, this is a natural level 6 that I'm using as her low light. I didn't want to use anything too dark. I still want this to be a very natural blend.
Chanel, we do have a question. Can you please go over the formulas again and the numbers of the colors, the shades that you're using?
Absolutely. So right now, this is my formula B. It's a level 6, 6N, and I mix this up in a 1 to 1.5 ratio with 10 volume. And so this is my low light formula, formula B. My highlight formula, I used the lightning powder mask. With that, I did 40 grams of my powder and 80 of my 20 volume developer. That's my formula A. And then later on, I will introduce formula C, which is what I'll use to tone. I'm going to use a 713 to tone her blonde. Just want it to be nice and natural, not too cool, not too golden. She's already pretty golden right now because we haven't touched up her highlights in a while. So we're just getting her back to normal. So this is the end of our larger triangular section in the back. So we are going to spin her around here. Actually, I'm going to widen this triangle just a little bit more. Here we go. This way I can have like a bit of a larger section to work with and I can get more coverage from my client. Okay, so hopefully you can see this first section here. Remember, I took a larger triangle and I split it in half because she wears a middle part. So I'm going to do something a little bit different with this section. I want to see brightness around the face. So instead of me alternating A, B, A, B, in the front here, I'm going to start with 2 A's. So I'm going to take my first subsection, apply formula A. My second subsection, I'm going to apply formula A. My third subsection, I'll be adding formula B, and then I'll continue on B, A, B, A, like that. So I hope that makes sense. I want brightness in the front, so I'm just going to double up my formula A in the front. So I said I'm going to be using diagonal back subsections. Start right here. Okay, so this would be my first section right here. I'm going to zigzag this. And I want to start off with thinner subsections, maybe 1/4 inch, maybe less, depending on what you're working with. Again, we have to consider the client's density. We have to consider, you know, how fragile her hair is. Can her hair take double lightener in the front? Can these smaller baby hairs in the front be included in this section? And for me, no. So I'm going to take these out. I don't want these to be overly processed. So here we go. This is my first subsection in the front with diagonal back partings. For this section, I am not going to tease. Once I move closer to the apex, that's when you'll see that I'm going to tease. But in the beginning, I had already come in with. I don't need to tease this section. For my low light, I do want this to be as close to the root as possible. So
Chanel, we do have another question. So what is the correct ratio for the lighting powder with the shield and cream color with the shield?
okay, so for my lightener ratio, I used a 1:2 ratio, and then I used 10% of my formulation, or I added my Shield Additive Plus, but I only added 10% of my formulation. So yes, anytime that you mix your color or lightener, you only want to add 10% of that formula as the Shield Additive Plus. Okay, here's my light. Yep, so I believe I had 120 grams total for my mixture, and then I added 12 grams of the Shield Additive Plus to my formulation. All right, going in the next subsection. That was formula B, so now we are working with formula A, our lightener. You can see partings are getting larger, and I'm leaving some hairs out in between that section. Now that I'm no longer in the front hairline, I'm going to go back to teasing. And this just helps to create a nice blend. Help this to look a little more lived in. So there we go. We have our tease, securing that with a comb. I am lightening this section. So this is where you can start to get creative, right? Once you move past that front hairline, you can choose how close you want this to go to the scalp, right? So I still want to keep it pretty close, maybe not as close as what I was doing before, but I want this to last. We do not highlight her hair often, so I want something that will not look like it has grown out too quickly. So feather that up. Even though her ends are previously lightened, I just want to brighten them up a little more. So I am saturating these ends. Our lightening pattern now. Looks like we have about 2 subsections left. Still working on a diagonal back. Leaving just a little bit out in between. And this is my low light. No teasing required, but if that's your preference, why not? Okay. And again, I'm taking this pretty close to the root. She already has some of her new growth has come in. I want to say her hair is about a level 3. So I'm just kind of blending that up into her new growth. And then when we tone at the bowl, I'll use a bit of a higher volume with my toner so that I can get a bit of a base break. If your client likes darker roots, instead of that, you can go in with a root smudge. But we're not looking for it to look that lived in today. So. I'm just going to bring it a little bit closer.
Chanel, so we do have another question. If you can just go over how the color sealing is used.
The color sealing. So that process would happen after we rinse out the formulation. We would use the Lock Me Color mask, and that would just be to seal in what we did today and add additional moisture to the hair. So first step is the shield additive, and then once everything is rinsed out, shampooed and toned, I'll go in with my Lock Me Color. Okay, so this is my last highlighted section for her front left section. So I'm going to go ahead and tease this. All right, so for this one, I do not want this to be right at the root. So I am going to focus more so on blending this throughout the mid-lengths and ends. Okay, going in right here. section is finished. Great. Spinning back over here. All right, final section. And I added a little bit more hair to the left side. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same thing over here. So a little bit more to work with our diamond sectioning. There we go. This hair down here. They're going to leave. So I don't know if you can tell, but my client has some shorter pieces here. They seem like they need a little more moisture, so I am not going to highlight this area for her today. Maybe after some treatments we'll do that. But again, if you have a client that likes to wear their hair up and they want to see some of that brightness as their hair goes up, feel free to add some highlights just around the hairline, above the ear, between the temple and the ear, and then you can do the same thing around the back of the head, ear to ear, nape. You can add more highlights or lowlights if you like. So we are. Another clip here. So does anyone remember the sectioning, what color or what formula we will use in each subsection? Add it to the chat if you know what I'm starting with. Definitely starting with my zigzag diagonal back parting. And I like to leave just a little bit of this out here in the front on some of these compromised pieces. I don't want to add any lightener to that at this time. And again, I am using a zigzag parting. It's up to you whether or not you want to make this chunky, if you want this to be ultra fine. But I want this to be more of like a balayage technique in foils, which makes it a foilayage. All right, so here's my first section. My first section uses Formula A, which is my lightning powder mask. And I am not teasing in this area. I want my first two subsections to be as close to the scalp as possible, just blending that into her natural grow out. So lift this up, saturate these ends. All right, I am taking my second zigzag diagonal back subsection, keeping it pretty thin in the front, but as I move toward the crown, I'm going to make my sections a little bit wider. And I'm leaving out just a bit of hair between each foil, zigzag again. Yes.
Chanel, we do have another question. Yeah. So can you let us know what level was the, hair initially of the person that you're, coloring?
Okay, so she was previously highlighted. Her highlights are level 8, and then her hair is a level 6. But right now it's pretty golden. So and it's kind of faded. So what I'm doing is with my low lights, I'm still adding a level 6, but I just want it to be a little bit darker or richer than it would have been because we haven't done her highlights or low lights in a while. We've only done her root retouches. So she started off with a 6 and an 8. Her 8 was a highlight. Her 6 was her, I guess, her all over color. And I am formulating with the lightening powder mask to lighten her up some more, and just to refresh it because it's somewhat uneven now and it's a little yellowy. So I just want to get some of that yellow out so that I can see the true tone of my toner once we get to that formulation. Formulation C, we'll go over that after I'm done with the application here. But who knows what I'm going to use in my second front section. Let me know in the chat if you've been following along. I'm going to grab some more foils while you guys think about that. Hopefully someone was able to guess. It's pretty easy alternation that I'm doing here. So this will be formula A again. So I'm going A, A, B, A, B, A. So that is our pattern for this front section. All right, so let me grab my section again, leaving a little hair out in between. And I am not teasing this section, but I will feather it up. I'm not creating or contributing to any lines of demarcation as this grows out because we don't do this often. So I need it to grow out seamlessly. All right, here we go. Lightning powder mask. Not starting at the root. I do not want to oversaturate the root. Always starting somewhere in the mid area. Once that's saturated, I take what's left on the brush, what's left on the hair, and I just feather that up. Feather it pretty close. And no harsh lines. Okay. And then we are going to take these ends, fold them in. I'm toning with the level 7. I know that she is currently a level 8. I just want to make sure that everything is nice and clean. And that I get an even deposit when I apply my toner. It's okay to tone the shade now. She'll be staying in the 6-7 range. All right. It's my second foil. You can see. This out. Alrighty. Another diagonal back, zigzag parting. You can see that. And I'm leaving some out in between. Now this is my first application of Formula B in this section. My low light. Zigzag top and bottom, leaving some hair out in between. I'm taking my low light as close to the root as possible. Everyone understand the formulations that I'm using at this point? I don't want my client to be too bright at the top. I don't want her partials to look like a color blocking. So there are times where I have to go in and add low lights to some of her previous light areas just to create some dimension and to allow her new highlights to pop. Great. Great, let's see what we have left. And my subsections are getting a bit wider as I'm moving toward the crown. I'm using zigzag part to leave some of her natural out. Now I'm going in with my Formula A, and I'm going to tease this first. Now, if you want, when you get to some of these areas, I don't know if you can see some of her old highlights, you can weave those out if you'd like. If you're not looking to brighten them up. Or if you have a client who gets her hair light more frequently, you may want to weave those out so you don't run the risk of over processing your client's hair over and over again. We do not do this often, so here we go. Once I paint this on, I'm not super close to the scalp. I'm getting pretty close to the tease area, but this is no longer being spread up to her scalp. Great, and I want that to be nice and soft, so this creates a nice soft grow out, low maintenance. That's what she's all about. She's got a busy career and she doesn't come in as often due to her client demand. So we're the best that we can when she's here. It's over. So if you have a client who has textured hair, my client's texture, it's not too tight. She actually came in with braids today. So it's not too tight. It's a bit stretched out. But for those clients with tighter curls, once you're getting into like the 3s and 4s, feel free to saturate the hair with some water before you apply your formulation. And the reason why I like that is it just provides additional slip and it helps me to apply lightener to those ringlets that may not get covered otherwise when they're dry. And that's just my pro tip. It doesn't have to be dripping wet, but just a bit of water helps to add some control to what we're doing. All right, we have 2 more subsections left. Split that right in half. Okay, we are leaving a bit out. And I'm going in here with my Formula B, my low light. Okay, this is my last low light. Now I'm taking this pretty close to the root. So like I was mentioning, my client started off as a level 8. It just needs, the cuticle needs to be reopened. We just need to freshen that level 8. I want to get some of that gold out of it so that when I apply my 7.13, it looks really clean, really even. And that's just how I like to refresh my client's hair when I'm in a partial foil. Here's my light. And last but not least, my tiny section here. This will be my final highlight, taking a bit out as an in-between. So this is gonna look very dimensional. We have what she came in with, we have her low light, and now we have her highlight. For her highlight, I'm going to take this section. We are going to tease this pretty heavily. And again, I'm not taking this all the way up to her root. I'm keeping this a little bit lower. I want to create a directional lightning pattern in her hair. I don't want it to all look like it's coming from her root. I want it to look lifted still. Yep. Last one. Starting at the mid. I'm just going to feather this up some. You can choose the directional pattern that you want. You can paint this on diagonal forward. You can paint this on diagonal back. Horizontal if you like. Definitely pay attention to what your client already has in their hair, and then paint your lightener in a way that will complement what they already have. Great, so there we go. This is the last subsection in our partial foil. Just get all of this out of the way for her while she processes. I'm gonna give her a quick spin. So you can see what's going on here. So her application is finished. All right, so now it is time for me to mix up my Formula C, which is going to be my toner. And like I said, she's already started off with a 6 and an 8. I decided to add some richness to her low lights and stick with a level 6. I just want it to be a little bit brighter to help accentuate those highlights that I'm adding to her hair today. We will be mixing with our 7.13, which is our ash golden blonde. And I'm going to mix this up with a low developer, thinking a number 10, a 10 volume developer, because I do want to get a bit of a base break in there for her. And usually as long as I'm staying within the same tonal range, the base break works out perfectly with my toner. So I'm going to mix this up for you. 1 second. So as you know, our colors, we have 1 tube. And with this 1 tube, we can formulate it with different developers to create different strengths, right? So when you're using your 8 volume developer, we're using that as just a toner, semi-permanent. You can do the same with your 10, but your 10 can still offer a level of lift, which is what I want because I want a bit of a base break. And this tube can single-handedly go from demi-permanent to permanent based off of the developer that we use. So this is mixed in a 1 to 1.5 ratio. I'm actually going to mix quite a bit of this. I'm going to start with my 40. That's my go-to, but my client has a lot of long hair. I just want to add this tone all over. Okay, we got my developer. Again, I'm mixing that in a 1 to 1.5 ratio. Here, and then I will just have this ready to go for once she's done processing. So I like my client to process for at least 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes. It just depends on how far along in the process I've gotten. And once I reach my desired level of lift, that's when we can rinse her and tone her at the bowl. So that is ready to go. Great, so while that processes, we can go over a little bit of our product knowledge, okay? Let's see, so we talked about the different formulations. We talked about whether or not you can slice or weave or tease based off of your client's desired look. And then we also talked about how you can customize this even further in each foil based off of how you paint this. All right, so let's go over the differences in our lighteners. So for sure, all of our products, including our lighteners, contain Juvexin or Juvexin B2, which would be our vegan protein blend, the vegan version of our original Juvexin. So we talked about the ingredients and the benefits of our lightening powder mask and why I chose to use that today. But I also want to go over some of our other lighteners, starting with the Lightening Powder Zero. So the Lightening Powder Zero is formulated with 0 harsh chemicals and ingredients such as argan oil, which is known for nourishing and hydrating properties, hydrolyzed quinoa, which provides essential amino acids needed to strengthen and repair the hair. So if you're looking for something that's not harsh, or if you live somewhere where there are strict limits on the chemicals that you use, the Lightening Powder Zero is perfect for you. Moving on to the Juvexin Lightening Powder Plus. So this has had a bit of a facelift. It's new and improved, and it's stronger than ever with 9 levels of lift. So it neutralizes unwanted warmth in the hair with a blue base. So with the blue base, this is good for someone who's just a little too yellow, a little too brassy, and you're trying to neutralize them and get them back to a nice clean blonde. Our Juvexin Lightening Cream gives 7 levels of lift, and it helps to neutralize the warmth in the hair. This is great for on-scalp lightening. It offers up to 7 levels of lift, and it's rich and creamy. That is also formulated with argan oil and acai oil. And then last but not least, we have our Miami Beach Bombshell Balayage Lightening Powder. So this gives you 8 or more levels of lift. This is also a neutralizing formula, and it helps to get rid of unwanted brassy tones to achieve and create the lightening that you're looking for with your client. So based off of your client's needs, you can run down the list of our lighteners and choose what would be best for you. So if you have a client who solely gets root retouches, like they are universally blonde all over and they just want to get that root retouch, which one would you use? A little quiz. Which one would you use? I'll see if anyone wants to answer. I'll tell you. You are going to use your Juvexin Lightening Cream because this is creamy and it's formulated with the argan oil, and it's going to help protect the scalp. So if you were looking for on scalp lightening, you would choose your Juvexin Lightening Cream. All right, let's see, let's move things over. When would you want to use the Lightening Powder Plus? Or in the comment, if you have used the Lightening Powder Plus before, which clients do you tend to pull out that lightener for? I'm gonna have to check this chat and see. Let's see. All right, I don't see it in. Oh, one new message. Let's see. Miami. Okay, we're talking about the Miami. So the Miami is good for your blondes. Is that what you use that for, Kate? So that is just a one-stop shop. You can neutralize, get rid of those brassy or yellow undertones with that Miami Beach bombshell. That's something that I didn't need to use today because we are not looking to create a Miami Beach bombshell today. We are just looking to add some dimension to her hair and freshen up her highlights. Are only done like 2, maybe 3 times a year. All right, and if you're looking for high levels of lift, you are going to use your Juvexin Lightening Powder Plus. Okay, because this is the one that's going to give you 9 levels of lift. Okay. Are there any questions on our lighteners? Thank you for the thumbs up. All right, so if there are no other questions, I mean, you can ask questions about something unrelated to our foliage technique today. If you have any other questions about placement, you can let me know, or we can talk about some of her at-home care. I know that's very important. You don't want your client to come in and have a lightening service and then they don't know how to take care of it at home. Especially now that we are getting into the warmer months and clients will be going to the beach, how can we protect their hair? So for my clients lately, I have been sending them home with the Shield shampoo and conditioner. For one, I just love the smell of it, but it seems to be very hydrating and it helps to prevent from UVA and UVB rays. So that'll be great for protecting your hair over the summer, protecting your client's hair over the summer. Starting with the shampoo and conditioner. We don't want them to go home and use something that is going to strip their toner. We want their toner to be long lasting. So the GK hair shampoos, the Shield, that's my favorite, is a great recommendation. And then as far as leave-in, I love the leave-in cream. That's just my favorite. The leave-in spray is great, but I love the leave-in cream on pretty much any hair type. I definitely feel like I have to add that to the hair immediately after conditioning. And that just creates another barrier that just blocks in all of the moisture. It also helps with detangling. So I like to put that in first, and then I like to comb that through. Let me see. For frizz control, would you use a resistant? Are you talking about the resistant treatment? Okay, so no, honestly, for her, we've done the best cocoa. I prefer to use the best on this texture. And I would actually, if we were to do a keratin treatment today, I would actually do that along with this service. So I would do her highlights first. I probably wouldn't do the lowlights right now because once you apply the keratin, there's a possibility that that will lighten and you won't see the true color of her low light. So I would start with her highlight. I would go in with the best cocoa, my personal favorite, and my clients love it as well. And then after your best cocoa is done processing and you rinse it out, then you would go in with your low volume toner to add whatever it is you need. So if you need to take the client back to the chair and you want to tone and you want to add those low lights with the tone, that's great if you're still trying to create this type of look where she has some dimension. But if that's too much, maybe you could just do the cocoa treatment on a different day when you're trying to do something that's so specific. But yes, I would 100% recommend the best cocoa for frizz control. And her hair, honestly, it looks a little bit frizzier now because I believe she did an air dry. Let me show you. Yeah, she said she just air dried it. So this is just the result of like air drying a French braid. So it's really not that frizzy. It's just the state of it right now. So at the end, once everything's rinsed out and I blow dry her hair, you'll be able to see just like how silky it is. She just needs to, we need to do a quick treatment on her. We'll do a Lock Me color mask after this. And like I said, once I add my leave-in cream, I also like to add some argan oil serum. It's great for her hair. She's completely frizz-free. How long would you say that your, when we straighten it, how long will that last for you?
Till I wash it.
Till you wash it again. So it stays pretty straight even without the resistant treatment.
Okay, Chanel, so yes, thank you. Chanel, so we have another question from a viewer. So how do I mix toner correctly after highlighting hair so that it does not affect the client's natural base? And if she wants to get light strands, for example, 10.21.
Okay, so if you do not want to affect the client's base, you're not looking for a base break, then definitely stick with that 8 volume. As long as you're using the 8 volume, you won't have to worry about a change in the client's natural hair or their lowlights or anything like that. But for me, I personally, just to lessen the time that it's going to take for me to do her hair, I just like to go in one full sweep with a 10 volume because I want to have a little bit of a base break and I want to tone those highlights at the same time, and that won't affect my low light, won't affect my level 6 because everything else is darker than the toner that I'm using. Now that may not work if you have a client that has you know, maybe a level 7 and you're toning with something that has like a red undertone. Now for that, that would pretty much stain the rest of the hair, even if you're using the 8 volume. So it may be a situation where you need to wash and blow dry and then start all over with a second application instead of trying to do it all at one time, so that you aren't creating a muddy mess with your colors. Is that helpful? Okay, you're very welcome. Let's see, let's get out of there. Yes, I know. I think it is, you just have to trust the process with our GKHair colors. You know, it's really convenient that we only need the one tube to do the job. Just make sure that you're using the correct volume developer and you'll be fine. All right, let me know if there's any other questions, guys. I'm here for a while. I just want my client to process. I know that we are at a little over an hour. So while she processes, I mean, I can create updates on Facebook. I'll make a post about her hair and the end result. If you want to stay on while I do that, that's fine. There's just going to be some breaks while I have to like shampoo her hair and then reapply her toner. I'm actually going to check on it now and we're just going to see what it's looking like. Pretty good. Yeah, this side's a little bit lighter. The light looks good. Oh yeah, this looks really good. We just need a few more minutes for my last section before I can rinse her out. I'm not looking for a super high lift. I'm just looking to see that I have a nice, clean, and even lift because we're alternating. We're creating something a little bit different today. I don't want it to look exactly how it was when she came home. I'm just gonna move my station over to the shampoo bowl. All right, Susie, if you'd like, you can come on over here. We'll start to get you prepped for your shampoo. See, it's like that. Just place this towel on. You can come on back. Just put this together. Would you like a foot rest? Yeah. All right. Hopefully you all can see. I'm just going to start pulling the foils that are ready. See, her low light looks great. You see we have some brightness here with her highlight. Nice and even. Nice lift. Nice lift. Perfect. Do the same in the back. So for this particular partial, I'm using this sectioning, but a lot of times I like to alternate my sectioning technique. So today I used the diamond and I split up the diamond. Next time I may not do that. I may choose to add dimension in other ways. That way each client has their own custom look, especially when we go months between lighting. It's somewhat hard to follow exactly what was done previously. Beautiful even lift. And that meteorite powder really helps to neutralize some of those unwanted tones. Our low lights look great. Not much different from what she currently had. Alrighty, is your neck comfortable? So we're gonna rinse this out. And how's that temperature? Not sure if you can see, but you can already see that dimension in her hair, which looks amazing. Going in with my Shield shampoo. For your clients that are looking for bright blondes and need additional neutralization, you can go ahead and use the bombshell, the silver bombshell shampoo. That's not something that I need for her hair. My client, she usually wears her hair down with the middle part. She does not switch it up too much. And so today's application was exclusively for how she likes to part and wear her hair. So let's say you have a client that exclusively wears a side part on the left. At that point, you can move your diamond sectioning over to the left. It does not have to be centered. So that's just how you can customize this application even further and tailor it to your client's needs. shampoo just to make sure that everything is being washed out. And you can choose how many shampoos you'd like to do before you apply your toner. I think one thorough shampoo is enough for right now. And I'll rinse that and apply her toner. You can see my bubbles are white, so I don't have a ton of residual color sitting on her hair. If I did notice that the bubbles were a different color, I would shampoo one more time, just so that we don't create any muddiness as we're toning. Okay, I'm gonna rinse this out. Before I add the toner, I just want to detangle just a bit, and I shouldn't say detangled because it's not tangled, but you do have to remember that I did tease some sections of her hair, and I just want to make sure that all of that is out. It feels like that came out pretty easily with no issue at all. All right, grabbing my, which is my 7.13, and obviously she's lifted high enough for me to use this formulation. Now I'm taking this all the way to the root so that I can also have a bit of a base break. And this step is optional. If you prefer to go in with a darker tone and create a root shadow, go for it. That'd be great. Depends on your client's style, what look you're going for. So I like to start with the root in the bowl, and once I've gotten through that diamond section at the top, then I'll go ahead and I will brush it or massage it down to the ends. This is just a great in-between service for someone who doesn't want a full highlight. It's just a great way to keep them going in between time. So this will go in the front here in the front, not too far behind the ear. And then this will also go everywhere that the hair was lightened or low lighted, to, you know, within my triangle. Just gonna have you lift up just a little. Okay, like that. Okay. As soon as I get back here, I can see exactly where my highlights start. That's where I want to start applying to the root. I feel like this method also removes any imperfections, right? I like the base break for that reason. Everything together. Another thing I like to do is if your client's hair seems to have some tangles or seems to be a bit dry, I'll add some conditioner to the hair before I start the lightening process. Especially if your client is a bit tender and wouldn't be able to handle too much tension. To make the detangling way more comfortable, you can do that. It's done. Root. And we want this to be organic. We want this to start to just naturally blend into what she has going on in the back. I'm gonna take my detangling brush and I'm just brushing this in. And with this, it'll be hard to tell where it stops, where it starts. It's a nice, seamless, organic blend. Definitely don't hack into your client's hair. These bristles are very fine. I'm sure that she can barely feel this. And I'm just gonna split that down the middle again. And I'm making sure that I'm adding this toner. Sliding this down to the mid-lengths. And then once I have that brush through the mid-lengths, I'm going to go ahead and add some more to the ends so that we have the saturation that we need. I like to paint that on similar to a balayage. You know, hand paint it, massage it in there. Really push that color into the cuticle. You can already see how that's toning nicely. It's nice and cool, and it's going to offer beautiful contrast compared to some of the warmer pieces that she has in her hair. This is your Twilight Foliage. Very easy. We made this as quick as possible with the least amount of steps as possible. And I can already see that her base is starting to break again, and this will just hold her over until her next retouch. First side. That looks great. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the right side. Make sure I have all the pieces that I was working with today. Distributing this to the mid-lengths. Less is more. You don't have to dump a full color bowl on your client's head. All right, now that I've pulled that all the way down, I will saturate her ends. Massaging that in. Susie, your neck okay? And her hair is toning pretty quickly. If you have someone with stubborn or resistant hair, you can use a steamer. I have my steamer here for those clients who just need a little extra TLC. Separate this so I can get in between. Any other questions about this? I'm only toning the top half of her hair because we did a partial foliage technique today. Massaging this in. Really looks great so far. Together. It's beautiful. Anytime I have color left in the bowl, just scrape it clean. Just use as much of it as I can. Nothing wrong with some saturation. And then if you want, if it makes you feel more comfortable, you could go and brush the toner in with everything else. And again, because my toner is lighter than the other hair that we started with, that we left out, the toner won't affect it much. If anything, it might add a little shine. And now there is a seamless blend between her new growth and the hair that we just added highlights in the lights to. Just get a tissue and clean off your forehead some. All right, and then it's up to you. I like to shampoo the hair one more time before I add my treatment. And you can always refer to our GKHair swatch book if you are unsure about how long your toner or how long your color needs to process. Sunscreen. It blends so nicely. Let's start with the rinsing this out. And we'll do some quick shampoo. That temperature, okay? Susan, how's your scalp? Is it itchy anywhere? Great. So when you are performing this on your client, you'll go in with the Lock Me Color mask. Today, I'm just going to use a quick conditioner before we run out of time. And then I'll just blow dry one section for you so that you can see the results. So just because of the timing, I'm just going to use some Shield conditioner. Usually when you're using a mask, you want to let it sit for at least 20 minutes. This, I'll just quickly brush this through. When I'm coloring or lightening the hair, I don't just focus on the ends when I'm conditioning. I focus on everything, right? Because we did a chemical service and the hair needs a little bit more moisture all over today. Now on her next visit, if you want to focus on the ends, that'd be fine. Brush through. Hair feels nice and soft. You have the option of leaving your toner in longer if you'd like. I rinse once the desired level is achieved. The desired tone is achieved. And my goal today was just to cool her off a bit. The low lights help to assist in that. And my 7.13 helps to cool her off a bit and give her a bit of a contrast with some of the warmer pieces that she has in her hair. Hair feels so silky and smooth. That's great. Susie, I'll have you sit up. All right, we will shift back to our station. And I'm just going to show you all one section. So there we go. Show you all one section so you can see the end result. Like I said, I always like to go in with the leave-in cream. This right here is my favorite. It just really helps with detangling. and locking in that moisture. Let's see. Just this half round section. Is that right there? Just remove it. Okay, and I'm just going to section off the back. Out of the way. There we go. Now working with this front section here. Looks so pretty already. All right. Begin to blow dry. Just blow dry this a little bit more. I hope you all can see the dimension from the screen, but I will move the camera a bit closer so that you can see. going to turn her into the light. Bring my camera over so that you can see what we were able to achieve with our Twilight Foilayage. You can see the seamless blend. It looks nice and natural. You can see her low lights popping. You can see her highlights popping. So after this, I will make sure that I can take some pictures and I can post these on Facebook or Instagram. Thank you, Kate. Thank you so much. So now she doesn't look as warm. She's nice and cool. She's nice and blended. Let me see if you can see her root a little better. We have the base break there, so we were able to skip her root retouch this time, but yeah, she has a nice blend. So I'll get a little bit more sunlight here. Just a nice blend of colors there. So I just want to thank all of you for tuning in and watching from start to finish on how we achieve this Foilayage Twilight technique. And you see how those low lights really made those highlights pop? Absolutely love that for her. So thank you so much. Again, I'm Chanel, owner of CS Hair Studio and educator for GK Hair. You can follow me online at Chanel Stylist. That's my Instagram. With any other questions that you may have. If you need me to send you the formulation, I'd be happy to do that. But I just want to say thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.